Our reporter, Luke Shrago, is standing by at Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and we can speak to him now. Hello to you, Luke. Tell us a little bit about what's happening where you are.
Well, my team and I are here in Hostage Square in central Tel Aviv, and as you can just see behind me, there are signs of the solidarity from families and of their relatives who've been held by Hamas all over. This is now the 55th day since the conflict began. And at present, we've seen families from hostages taken from Kfar Azar. They've been setting up, just behind me, you can see the crowd. They've been setting up a meal table, putting their 8 missing hostages, their favourite food down in an attempt to try and maintain the pressure, at least on the Israeli government, to keep negotiating, to keep things moving forward, to try and bring these hostages home. As you can just possibly make out, one of the slogans, "Bring them home now," has been the slogan that many people here have adopted. Now, of course, this happens with the truce itself going into effect for another 24 hours, really negotiations up until just the last minute on Thursday morning. A list earlier offered by Hamas for seven hostages and 3 bodies was refused by Israel. It now seems that they will be getting 8 hostages back, along with the bodies of 3 soldiers. Now, normally the terms of the truce call for 10 hostages to be released, 10 Israeli hostages, but Hamas now appears to be counting the 2 extra hostages with Russian nationality as well as Israeli, who were released on Wednesday in Thursday's number. Now, of course, 30 Palestinian prisoners will also be released once those hostages are back in Israeli territory. We also know that 2 young Bedouins who were abducted from a kibbutz near Gaza on October the 7th, of 17 and 18, a brother and sister, they are on the list to be released as well. That follows requests and pleas from the Bedouin community to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to help and to get their hostages released. 6 Bedouins were taken on October the 7th. And of course, it's all showing how hard the negotiations have become. Negotiations going on right up until the last minute to try and find a way forward. Israel saying that it was happy to continue with exchanges as long as hostages were going to be forthcoming. But of course, you know that the government and Netanyahu are under enormous pressure to begin the war from certain sectors of the government. The war cabinet meeting late on Wednesday to discuss what they were going to do. Of course, you now know that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is currently on his 3rd visit to Israel to try and apply yet further pressure from the international community as well in an attempt to try and push the truce forward. So once the exchange on Thursday go ahead, we'll really be waiting to see whether or not there can be yet further negotiations, perhaps with Qatar mediating between Israel and Hamas to see whether or not the truce can be extended yet another time.
Yeah, and Luke, meanwhile, this Thursday morning, we had the shooting in Jerusalem during morning rush hour. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, we do now know that Hamas has claimed responsibility for this attack. It came relatively early in the morning on Thursday as a car pulled up by the side of a bus stop. 2 men got out and began opening fire with a machine gun on the crowd that was waiting, on the people waiting for the bus at morning rush hour. 3 people have died in the attack, 2 succumbing of their wounds in hospital, with 1 young woman being pronounced dead at the scene. People there were remarkably fortunate to have 2 off-duty soldiers and an armed civilian who were on hand to respond, who shot the 2 attackers dead. Israel's Shin Bet security service now saying that those 2 brothers were from East Jerusalem. They were Hamas supporters, and it's now thought and has been reported in some quarters of Israeli media that they had in fact served prison time. So it shows the state of just how high tensions are remaining despite the ongoing releases of hostages, providing some measure of hope towards Israelis.
All right, Luke, thank you very much. Luke Shrago reporting from Tel Aviv.